When I gave remarks yesterday at the opening, I said a thank you to Dr. Strong for his patience and his perseverance and for his vision. I'd like to reiterate that this morning. So I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Mr. Ken Clarke. He's been 54 years in IT. He joined IBM in 1970 at the age of 17. And a very important item on his bio is that at the age of 17, I assume this is what it means, he had no driver's license. And, and that, when I read that, that kind of prompted an interesting discussion between a couple of colleagues about the ways in which we get our driver's licenses. Without any ado, Mr. Clarke, please.
Good morning, and welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and visit with us. This hopefully will be an hour and no more, and hopefully you'll learn at least something. Like Mike said, I've been in IT 54 years. I've done, I guess, almost any job you can find in the industry, and it has led me to AI, quite frankly. I was explaining to the AV guy that I consider myself on the application end of the industry. I've done programming, I've done coding, I've sold equipment and software, I've designed systems, but all of that means very little unless people can use it. And AI, in my view, is the ultimate of giving access to quote unquote computing power, quote unquote data. Now, data, excuse me, is the center of our concentration. Data is what determines whether or not, when you walk up to a line at a government office, whether or not they'll tell you, oh, thank you, yes, we know who you are, we know how, what you came for, we have everything ready, they'll give it to you, or they tell you, what's your name? How you spell that? And you, as you know, that can be a quite common occurrence. You walk up there and despite the fact that you were there last year and the year before, they don't know who you are. They may not even be able to find you. But that's about to, or that can be solved with AI. You can walk up, just raise your hand, expose your face, scan a code of some kind, and they can know everything about you. All right, so today we'll go over some aspects. We live in a country with a bunch of islands. It's a small. So as a small economy, there's certain things we can do, certain things we can't do. Sorry. Certain things we can do and we can't do. It's context. We are going to cover what is AI and what it's not. It's not magic. It's actually just a bigger hand calculator or a bigger desktop computer or a bigger cell phone. A richer one that has more computing power and access to more information. So when people talk about it's like a human and it's going to take your job, really. That's an effect, but not a reality, because it's not human. It's not going to be human anytime soon either. There are many impacts that could come from AI. Particularly in terms of democracy, giving you access to information about what the government is doing, what's going on in society, giving you transparency, assisting with risk management. We are subject to changes in the world, but we can get through those if we plan and if we budget and if we monitor. We can deal with that. Our government services, I guess it goes without saying almost, it can be better. We know that. And there are improvements. But what's the result? Where are the solutions? You hear, it was just announced that government is putting on a digi-learning seminar or a series of seminars. What's the solution, though? What is it going to do to people's lives? You spend millions of dollars, and what do you end up with? That has to be revisited. We look at the priority sectors: tourism, health, education, and justice. And we'll hopefully set out a plan that makes sense. 12 to 24 months, we can go from where we are to where we need to be. We can go to a point where you go to register some land, they don't ask you to provide the information that they're already supposed to have, and they don't turn around and tell you in some date in the future we'll send you an email. And you don't get in a situation where 3 months later they haven't sent the email, and if you call somebody, they can't tell you any more about it than they could have told you 3 months before, and you wait another 3 months, and it still doesn't happen. That doesn't have to be. And one of the interesting things about this is we've already spent the money. We've spent a lot of money, but we don't have much to show for it. I'm so happy to see Dr. Davis. Dr. Davis said something yesterday morning that triggered me, I have to be honest. He said, forget best practices. And he detailed for us a wonderful experience of facing a problem, looking at the resources and tools that he had available, and solved the problem locally. With the people you have, with the knowledge you have, with the experience you have. I came out with something, quite frankly, that surprised me. When I went to get my vaccine, and I saw the efficiency with which that process happened, and that they were actually recording data. I was like, wow, I wonder where they got this from. Okay? And so I am very, very pleased to find out they didn't go and say, well, let's go to that guy with the give him $1 million contract to come and solve this problem for us. The problem is in our lap, and it has been there for a long time. Why should he come and know more about it? And for our outcomes, our results, we can see that 9 chances out of 10, he does not know more about it than we do. He knows what he knows, but he doesn't know what we already know. So just a little nugget to bear in mind. AI is not magic. What AI is really an extension of your hand calculator or your desktop computer or your cell phone. AI essentially is able to do what it does, deliver what it does, because it went out, did some extensions on the math, normal math we use in IT, in computing. But I think primarily because we have more data. They went and collected more and more and more data. Every bits and piece, all the bits and pieces of everything that was on the internet. Put it together, then put together the computing power. Very important. The computing power to manipulate that. So, if your calculator can just put some numbers in and it does that, or you go to your computer, you can store some data and you can produce a report. Many years ago, I worked at a building across the street for Vitelco, and we had a room, square this up, probably the size of this room. We had a false floor, and in that room, we just had a printer, a couple of tape machines, a CPU, and over here was a card reader. That is 1/1000th of the computer power in this cell phone. Okay? All we did there is reproduce the telephone bills, and we had a couple of engineering reports that we did. And everything we did on that computer required me or one of the other programmers to sit down and write out exactly what we wanted the machine to do. And we couldn't tell the machine just what to do. We had to talk to the machine in the machine's language. You couldn't just say, I need a report on all the customers who owe bills for the past 3 months. It was quite a process to produce a bill. Well, the whole point in all of the development over the past 40 years is to get it to say, hey, I need all the bills that are overdue by 3 months, but I want you to break it down by geographic sector of the Bahamas. I want all the islands, not only all the islands, I want all the neighborhoods in all the islands. I wanted you to put it in alphabetical order, and I also want you to put in order of the amount of the bill. I want you to not only print it out on paper, but I want you to set it up so I can transfer it by email, by WhatsApp, and any other messaging platform. And instead of waiting for 6 hours, because we used to do that, we have programs that actually ran overnight. It'll come back in a matter of seconds and give you all of the above. Okay? Again, going back to the Registrar General's Department, instead of going there and you carry your papers, your land papers, or they tell you, oh no, we don't, no, you have to go on our platform to do that. All right? You come up, maybe you walk to a terminal in a library, the food store, and you say, here I am, here's what I'm trying to do, and it does it. And it says, okay, we're working on this, we'll get back to you in an hour. In fact, we'll remind you that is ready in an hour's time. If there's a future date for an appointment to do an interview and an evaluation, don't worry about that. I'll update your calendar on your desktop or on your cell phone. Now, I'm confident that they're not pulling my chain. I have a future. I know what's going to happen. It's clear. It's outlined. And I can go back at any point in time and check on that. I don't have to call someone. My name is XYZ. Who you talk to? I talk to Miss B. I don't know who I talk to. I talk to Miss Bearsden. Bearsden? What Bearsden? Ain't nobody here. Oh, you mean Patty? She ain't named Bearsden no more. She get married. You know, and you know, that doesn't raise any alarms with anybody. That's fine. But she ain't here today. I know. Anybody see her? She might have transferred, you know. That's real. That may sound ridiculous. I'm not just trying to be funny. That's real. I spent 4 hours at the court complex on Nassau Street yesterday. 4 people were arrested by immigration 4 weeks ago. 2 have been released. I paid. And they're back in Haiti. This one guy, I went tried to find him yesterday. I spent 4 hours. I went there from 1:30, 1 o'clock. At 4, close to 5 o'clock, after talking to a number of people, because they happened to be walking through the hallway, I recognized them and I said, hey, Ms. Monkey, I need to blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay, I can get it back to you. An hour later, nothing happened. So I go knock on doors. By the way, one of the doors they sent me to had a sign on it. Do not knock on this door. But anyway, at the end of the day, she came back. She said, do you have his birth date? I said, no, I don't have his birth date. I don't have his documents. You need to him because I can't find him nowhere. I need to call prison registry to see whether they have him. What's his name again? Jean-Pierre. That's his name. Jean-Pierre. Oh, well, we got plenty of that name. We get plenty of people with that name. Turns out, you know, they may have 10 Jean-Pierre in custody at the moment. They've already deported 20 this month. I see my friends here from the detention center. So they know. And that's the situation. And if I go down to the detention center, I have no idea where he is. I don't think he's at the detention center. He's probably still at Fox Hill because nobody's paid for him to get transported yet. But I could run in between those 2 places for days and still not find him. Now, there's a lot of stuff that comes out of that. Jean-Pierre may very well be that particular Jean-Pierre who was an arch criminal. His reason for coming to the Bahamas was to be a liaison, a connection for some people that are already here, blah, blah. So they've also designed a way for him to get lost. And what could happen within the next 30 days is a major crime event because we lost Jean-Pierre. But that's stretching it a little bit. A little bit. So we see the importance of data. We see the importance of AI because AI now takes all of this data, puts it together makes it manageable, accessible. That's it. It makes it accessible. And it's not magic, like I said, it's just an extension, same thing. If you look at the calculations to do neural networks and how you access the data, it's maths. It's not magic. It's the same mathematics that probably a lot of you are studying. So Dr. Davis found that funny because he knows what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, there are benefits. There are ways of approaching this. So looking again at our reality, we have several. In the commercial sector, we're limited. Amazon can do things that other companies in the world can't do for the simple reason that their design and their processing allows them to access and reap from markets all over the world. So they can take a small margin and multiply that small margin by 200, 300, 500 million, and now that small margin is a lot of money, which is a lot of power to do things. So when we look at our commercial sector, don't think in terms of, well, there's 10,000 customers here in the Bahamas. There's 10 million on the internet sitting there for a product that you can provide. And the internet provides a means of you delivering that product. If you're looking at climate vulnerabilities, we have a flooding problem. And that flooding problem did not start when the rain started. The flooding problem started when they designed the neighborhood and didn't put in any catchments or any ways for the water to drain off. That didn't have to be, because satellite data can tell them how much, because of soil density, how much rain is going to cause flooding. It can also forecast which days they're going to have too much rain. It can work out how long that floodwater is going to stay on the ground based on weather conditions, etc. Not because it's magic, because it takes a lot of data and does a lot of calculations to come up with determinations. And if we have those determinations, we can likewise work out solutions. How do we get rid of that water? What's the best way to get rid of that water? Do we pump it out? Or does it make sense to go and put it in drains, catchments, whatever, water management features to deal with that? And we'll say, boy, that'll cost a lot of money. Well, let's find out how much money it costs. Let's find out how long it will take. Let's find out the impact of not doing it. If we have commercial activity, government activity paused or even stopped for a number of days, what is the economic impact of that? And so now we know, we have some idea, how much money are we going to spend? How much money does it make sense to spend in order to get rid of that problem? Now, we face our own unique circumstances, like I said. We have a brain drain. Talked about that. But we have, again, some tools. Every person who's in the diaspora, who has skills, everything that they are trained on, are working on, and plan to be trained on, can be in a database that's accessible, right? That anyone can access. So We're looking for a new training program at the College of the Bahamas. Before we decide that somebody in Timbuktu is a great person to bring for this, we can find out about the Bahamian in Houston, or Florida, or Mexico in real time. Find out who they are, have regular communications with them, work at all the things, and decide whether or not we can access their skills online or whether they need to come. Excuse me. Sometimes the internet works better than we want it to. Anyway. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's hope that wasn't the sheriff's office in Dade County. So we can access that. We can access it accurately in the format that we want, at the time that we want. We can schedule classes at the university based on that. Because we have the audiovisual capability, we can schedule classes, regular classes. We don't even have to wait for that person to show up at the time. We can record that and slot it in to the schedule, move it around like we need to. Dependence on tourism. That's external shocks, of course. Things happen, like they say, if they sneeze in the US, we're the ones that catch the cold. But what if we don't just rely on the US as much as we used to? What if we broaden our reach, broaden our spectrum? Remember, there are 500 million people out there who want to travel at some time for some reason. We need to find out the little snippets of who those people are, what their resources are, what they like, what they don't like, instead of just putting a big ad on TV. But let's face it, putting an ad on TV is the easy reach. We can do that. There's always somebody ready to take your money, but finding out those little snippets takes more time and potentially costs more money. Well, AI changes that. AI changes that. We can get to those people. We can talk to them even individually. So if we look at, here, what AI is, again, it is not magic. It is simply pattern recognition, prediction, and automation. I said a bigger, better handheld calculator. And it is the same ones and zeros for people who have studied digitization, as we call it in the Bahamas, digitization. It's just ones and zeros. But if you get enough ones and zeros, you can get those ones and zeros to represent a pimple on a cat's face or a whisker on a cat's face. Now, if you take that little piece and you put it through a slow machine, it's not going to amount to very much. But if you put it through a fast machine, we can assemble all those little bits and pieces very, very quickly and come up with a picture of that cat. Not only can we put up with a kind of picture of that cat, but we can manipulate that image to make the cat look like it's moving, like it's walking. And we can put a background and make it look like he's walking on the wing of a plane that's flying in the middle of the air. All of that possibility, again, becomes real because we have the power, the computing power to calculate that in real time. I'm going to show you something here. Sorry, let's go back. Uh-oh. Okay. I actually saw in my lifetime, many years ago, a machine that had a vacuum tube. It was operating on vacuum tubes. That's real. AI is simply an extension of what that machine did. Vacuum tubes, for those who have no idea, it's just a flask with a filament inside, and it goes on and it goes off. But a transistor or a GPU or a super chip is no different. It just goes on and it goes off. That's why it's digital, because it has two states, on and off, and 1 and 0. And those one, but if you put enough of those ones and zeros together, what do you have? Like I said, the cat with the whiskers that actually moves. It gets up and it walks. When the reality is, the fact is, all you had is a little crumpy picture of a cat. I'm going to do something if I can. A minute. Morning. Good morning.
Good morning once again. Always a pleasure to chat with you. Let me know what else you need.
We're talking about AI and the heart of AI, as you know, is the large language model. And I've been explaining how the large language model is not magic. It's actually a collection of data. And you pair that data with massive computing power, and you get magical results. But tell me, that large language model has to be trained. We have to put the information in. Give us, let's say, 10, 12 steps of how that happens.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to break that down again for you. So just like you said, it's not mad.
Go ahead.
Of course.
Sorry, go ahead.
No problem at all. So let me jump right in. First, you start by defining exactly what you want your language model to do. Basically the goals and the kind of data you need. Then you gather and prepare your data set, making sure it's nice and clean. After that, you choose your model architecture, basically the kind of large language model you're going to use, and then you start training. That involves feeding all that data into the model with plenty of computational power. Once the training's done, you evaluate how well it performs, fine-tune it if needed, and then you deploy for actual use. And after that, it's all about monitoring and maintaining it over time to keep it running smoothly. So that's the general flow in about a dozen steps.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you very, very much.
You're absolutely welcome. I'm really glad it helped. You need anything else? Just let me know.
Okay. Thank you, buddy. That was not a recorded message. That message was plucked randomly from a collection of data in a machine. That voice was selected from a choice of voices. Okay? And as you see, I didn't prompt it beyond asking the question. So imagine being able to a machine and by voice, find out whether your property is registered, whose name is in, when it happened, what the restrictions are, what are your next steps to continue the registration, what documentation is missing, what documentation is there. And that can happen at the Registrar General's Department in Nassau, Bahamas. It's not magic. It's accessible. Little old me, who didn't have a driver's license at the age of 17 when I started to work, did that just now. So it's accessible to anyone. We don't need to spend 20 years in university to do what I just did. Okay? And it's real. Going back again, sorry. We talked about government more than I really needed to, maybe, but we have other things about our society. We have education. How do we make use of AI to advance education for the benefit of the average citizen? In our schools, we have, as in many places, particular learning disabilities. We have children with autism, children with ADHD, people who learn different ways. To specialize our education and pair it to specific students is expensive. Takes a lot of time. Takes a lot of time to plan it, to put the material together, and to have it available for delivery. But it's being done by AI, and successfully. So, let's see a view where instead of having a teacher walk into a classroom every different place we develop what they call AI agents. An AI agent is a software, a piece of software that does essentially what you just heard, and it can do it in any place you want, at any time you want. So, in Ragged Island, we've decided that we're going to start teaching AI for K-12 or for middle school. We don't have to send somebody down there on the plane, pay for them to go and feed, be fed, and so forth. We can put together an AI agent. And that AI agent is going to go through and teach, and based on the responses from those students in those sessions, they can adjust the delivery of that program to meet the students with special needs. Now, what does that do? It lowers the cost, increases the efficiency, makes it literally possible to do it in terms of time and effort. Just that, just those returns. Why is that important? If we can reduce the cost of educating special students, we have more money now to go to regular programs. The University of the Bahamas can get more money for its programs. Adelaide School can get more money for its programs. There are real benefits. Let's look at health. People complain about the health system all the time. Personally, my experience is it ain't that bad. But, yeah, when you go to PMH, and they're not sure if they'll have a bed or whether they will have a bed, that can be solved by simply scheduling. We know seasonal problems. You know there's a cold season. You know cold and flu season. You know there's a season when we get more accidents because people are outside playing, going on the beach and so on and so forth. We can plan for those. We don't need to sit there and say, oh my God, we had, 3 accidents today. We had 12 accidents today. We know when that's likely to happen. We can't predict predict what is going to happen, but we can plan for that. We have a problem with all departments, I guess, running out of supplies because procurement, despite whatever legislation is passed, just doesn't work. When they get something, it's the wrong thing and the wrong price. The people we bought it from, we have no idea who they actually are. We go off trend. You know how many, in trying to sell computers, you know how many times, other equipment, you know how many times we get a piece of equipment. Telephone systems is a particular one. They buy a telephone system for one department and it works or it doesn't work. And then somebody just decides, well, that's not, let's go buy another one. Nobody was ever trained on how to use it. Nobody investigated how it needs to be, how it should be implemented. And so whatever amount of money is just gone. And nobody keeps track. And if you do keep track and you bring it up to a policymaker, they say, man, don't worry about that. Well, if all of that information is on a website, it's accessible to someone by voice, I think there'll be less of a intention to, in effect, defraud the system that way. AI can do pretty much that. We have to move ahead here. Okay, we got to move ahead. Now, so we did that. Now, risk management, I think I touched on. And then, so the benefits are cost savings, better management of our resources, speed and efficiency, public impression and public benefit from the money we spend. How can we get around that? Well, it should take, sorry if I'm not following anymore because I'm rushing. It should take a few, let's call it 12 to 24 months. And when we do that, we organize, put together a structure for the job. We have a team or an AI manager. We have some tests going on in education, in health, in civil management. We take feedback from all of that. And we set up so that we're continuous in implementation. Now, we can't do that. That's not going to be effective by putting up a little program over here and decide that the College of the Bahamas could implement AI, but nobody else can because we don't have the money. We have to do it the whole way. We got to do the whole lot. We have to be serious. We have to be intentional and put together the resources. That's the money, that's the time, that's the people, and that's the intentionality. But I think the most important part of this is the society. We have to stop having teachers telling students that AI is cheating. We have to find out what it's really about. We have to stop telling people in the civil service that they're going to lose their jobs, because that's not proven. When computers were introduced, I remember this. I was at Metallica. When I was computers introduced, I got cussed left, right, and center from the key punch operators because someone told them that they don't need the key punch machines anymore when we upgrade the computers. You're all trying to do people in the job. I think they hired more people because more data had to be entered from more departments. We were doing more computing. If you're doing more computing, trust me, you need more people. If you're doing, if you're serving more people, more customers, you need people. Now you have AI agents, of course, but you need someone to manage those AI agents. You need someone to verify that the data that's coming out makes sense. Garbage in, garbage out didn't go away. Okay? I think we need to cut. So, quickly, questions. We're done? We're done. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, you have a mic.
I have a microphone. Raise your hand if you have a question, please.
Yes. Does everyone need me to use a microphone?
It would be beneficial for people online. Yeah.
So I'm a professor at University of the Bahamas North. I actually, sorry to my fellow faculty, I teach my students how to use AI properly with my assignments, and so that it isn't obvious, but also so that they can actually understand what they have to update with it when they're using it, because they will be using it after they graduate, and I'm just readying them for the world after UB. I would like to know if you have had any involvement with our National Technical Committee on Artificial Intelligence through the Bahamas Bureau of Standards and Quality, and if not, if you'd like an invitation, but also how you see AI being used, not just in the government, but how you can tie it between University of the Bahamas and government systems or other places where we teach the students how to use it for the future that they're going to work in.
Well, I wasn't even aware of that committee. I have tried to, at cabinet level, find out what's going on with the government and AI, and I haven't had an answer. Is there any government representative here? No. They're interested in doing a DigiLearn program. And like I said, I'm not sure what that does. But if the interface between various committees and programs will have to come under an umbrella program, a structure that makes sense, that's quantified, properly quantified, the technology is outlined, or the goal of which technology you'd like to use is outlined, and bring it to something cohesive.
Another question?
Good morning. You mentioned Amazon and the ability to multiply small margins. What are your thoughts on Amazon and using that same data to compete with their customers because they know what the sales are across the platform?
Still not sure. What are you saying?
They have data to every sale that happens on the platform.
Right.
So they also know that you're making $5 on every product you sell,
Right.
and you're selling 1 million units a year or a month or whatever it happens to be. They introduce an Amazon Basics brand
Right.
of the same thing, and essentially they're competing with the customer.
Absolutely.
So what's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Everybody's. Walmart does it. Every major retailer has a basic brand, which is probably sourced from the same people that make the premium brand. That's a reality. Two opportunities that I think are out there in the world, open to every Bahamian. Have you bought any small appliance recently and seen the little piece of paper that they send with it, with the operating instructions, and the writing is exactly that small? If you can solve that problem, that's a multi-billion-dollar solution. And it can be solved. And it can be solved probably with current technology. The other thing is, you ever had one of those wide cellophane tape things, and you pull it off, and this razor is supposed to tear it off? That's a mess. That's a complete disaster. If you could take that and redesign it, all right, there might be $1 billion involved in that. And if you use AI, you can do it. You can redesign that product and put something out there. So opportunities, like I said, whether it's tourism or commercial enterprise, opportunities are out there right now, and there's 500 million customers maybe sitting and waiting. So to close.
I have one question more.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So comment and maybe a question as well. I just feel like listening to your talk, and this is a bit of a pushback, that we've given in to the idea that governance and politics is about technical efficiency. And I feel that in the West, especially, people asking questions about politics and governance that relate to fundamental questions about who do we want to become as humans. And so I'd like you to respond to the sort of, and I know this is a hard question, but respond to the point that AI is in fact shaping our subjectivity and our consciousness and shaping our humanity or lack thereof. And what is that connection?
Well, unfortunately, I probably ventured into politics a little bit there, but I'm really just tech. But you're right. Having AI on college campus has shown that people take a new approach, maybe a little less. They don't worry about certain issues as much because you could just go type it in and bam, it comes out. So, and there is a danger that maybe it thwarts innovation or curiosity. But those are issues that will be addressed, okay, as they come up. Remember, there was a time at the beginning of the motorized automobile where people were being crushed in the street on a kind of fairly regular basis. So they came up with regulations for how you cross the street and where you cross the street, and you work that out. And that diminished, I think. So, like everything else, there will be adjustments, and there will have to be adjustments. Okay, so those things are going to happen. Technology has always changed society, always, in very simple ways. When you walk into a building now, you don't expect to go up the stairs. You don't expect to go up the stairs. You know there has to be an elevator because the building can't function without it. And what happened then? People had to design elevator systems. They have to maintain them. They have to clean them, everything. So jobs were created as an absolutely result of just having the technological improvement.
One very last question.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, like it's like, I was very intrigued with your point of presentation on AI and innovation, streamlining that. So, and you also connected to education and healthcare. My point on that would be, is there any line of a legal implication with digitizing using AI in those areas?
For legal systems?
Yes.
Absolutely. Talking about job losses, I have some, I guess, crazy news in a way. Lawyers and legal assistants are one of the sectors that have the most danger of losing their job. Because what you do is basically it's clerical. You just look up things and you take that information and you use it. Well, it's very easy to put together an AI agent that can do that. And very efficiently and very cheaply. But again, there has to be someone who regulates, controls, supervises all of this. So it's the same. And then, the strange one, there is something I'm doing some research on called a virtual sovereignty. What the Bahamas does and makes money off, lawyers in the Bahamas, is that you provide legal advice and whatnot that is unique to this jurisdiction, and that's why people will come in and deposit money, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's possible to create a virtual sovereignty with special laws or any kind of laws that you can use instead of coming to a place like the Bahamas. Let that germinate for a while. Sorry. You ready? Okay. That's it. Thank you so much for coming. I'm sorry we didn't get more time to do questions. Thank you.